Season 2 of House of the Dragon has been one emotional roller coaster after the next. These episodes have been the slow burner kind of episodes, but they're pulling on the heartstrings with each and every one. These moments that are meant to make you sit back and go, oh my god, this is what's happening from the fallout of these two sides of this family, between Rhaenyra's family and Alicent's family, how they went from being really good friends to just slowly falling apart piece by piece by piece by piece. And when we saw at the end of last season, we saw that Rhaenyra was told by a raven that her son Lucerys has died. And not just, oh, he died by bandits, or oh, he died by this. No, that he was straight up murdered by her own brother Aemond. And that's where we left off with Rhaenyra. And the second season starts off with the aftermath of that, but not in the sense of like directly straight to it. We open up with the raven flying towards oh my god, I forgot what it would, not the Stark lands, but the wall. Thank you. Here we go. The wall. We have the raven flying to the walls, and we are introduced to Cregan Stark talking to the older brother of Lucerys, and I will put his name because I forgot his name too. And they're talking, and the older son is trying to get Cregan and the Starks to join his mother's side for the war to come. And Cregan's like, I can't really spare as many people as you think, but I can spare, because they have that mutual respect for each other. They come to have an understanding. And there's the shot of them overlooking the wall overlooking the wall, and they see what's out there. And he even asks, like, hey, what's the point of this wall, man? And Cregan telling him is like, to protect us of what's to come. And then you have this whole story with what the dragons of a few years, I think it was, I don't remember which dragons it was, but they said like the dragons wouldn't fly over this because of what was out there. And it's the setup for what inevitably will become the Game of Thrones. And of course, we all know how Game of Thrones ended. But for you TV show only watchers, learn to respect the books. This whole story came from the books. Your fascination with the show came from the books. Had there not been the books, you would have nothing. And when the book readers tell you, hey, the last two seasons do not even remotely do justice to what the books are even remotely set up. I know the books aren't even finished, but what the books did truly set up, hey, you don't get to go, well, the TV show ends this way. Yeah, it does, and it ends poorly because it basically contradicts it. So them doing House of Dragons, like, hey, we're doing it based on what he wrote, what George R. R. Martin wrote. Yeah, so there's that disconnect, and you've got to accept that the last two seasons aren't doing it justice. And basically, if they want to make this argument, they're not canon to what really happened. So the last two seasons suck. Get over it. And if you're a TV only, hey, still need to respect the books. Anyway, Cregan tells him that. Then they have a raven show up, and they reveal that Lucerys was killed. And then we jump right over. And we jump back over to the Greens, and oh my god, right out the gate, we have Alicent getting a good morning from Kristen Cole. God, this guy, God the Lord. She chastised Rhaenyra for having a one night stand with this man, and then she's just gonna do all this. Look, I get it. Her husband's gone. Whatever, do what you gotta do, girl. But seriously. Anyway, they make their way from their little event over back to the council room, and her father's talking. She sits down at the council, and she's like, hey, did Rhaenyra reply to any of my messages, my letters? And of course, the best response by one of the council members was like, yeah, what do you want to say? What you want her to send you happy-go-lucky letters because you apologize for the death of her son? Mm-hmm, yeah. I'm like, I don't believe Rhaenyra would even remotely give time of day to those letters. But you have Aegon, and then you have Aegon come in, and you have him dealing with his son, and you see this moment of Aegon trying to be somewhat of a genuinely caring king. He does be a little snarky and a little bit of a terrible person who then tries to make the head of the Lannisters give his son a piggyback ride, where him, but more like a pony. And it's just like, he's abusing his power in that scenario simply because his son's being a little brat. But hey, what do you expect? It's the king. Then we move over to the throne room. Aegon's trying to listen to the people and be genuine with them, and like, hey, yeah, we can help you out. And his grandpa's like, no, we really can't. Can't do that. Sorry. You got to be more stern with this. And he's like, okay, I guess. Okay, sorry. I can't do this and all of that. And so we get through all of that situation, and we're getting glimpses of characters that we will come to know as Cheese. We'll get to him a little bit later. Then we move back over to Dragonstone with Rhaenys. We're arriving back at Dragonstone with her dragon. Pretty much, if you remember Rhaenys, if you want to know the big, poor, crazy moment that Rhaenys just did, she had just destroyed, or not destroyed, but crashed the coronation of Aegon not too long ago, before the last episode of season 1. So there's that situation. So she's out patrolling because of all this other stuff, the blockade. And Daemon's like, hey, get back on your dragon. We got to go out. We got to go deal with this stuff. And she's like, yeah, after my dragon takes a nap, and after I do too. Heck, no, I'm not doing it. And he's like, we have to do this because the queen's being absent. Rhaenys is like, she needs to mourn, man. Her son died. She was told that her son died. She needs to mourn. Give her some time. When my daughter died, I was in just a haze until I was able to truly see her dead. Give Rhaenyra that chance. And you can see that Daemon like understands and accepts what she says, but also being Daemon, that kind of just And then as she walks off, he was like, hey, well, anyway, ride with me. And Rhaenys is like, is that a command? She goes, is that a command? He's like, yeah. He goes, well, it would matter if you were the king, and which you're not. So she walks off, and you can see that annoyed Daemon greatly. And so from there we move over with Rhaenyra. She finds an area. She comes across a group of fishermen that pull in the wing of her son's dragon. She arrives, runs down there. This scene with Emma D'Arcy was so well done, because as a parent myself, I could not truly imagine how I would react if something like this ever happened to me. And the performance she gave in this moment was everything that I expect a parent to truly feel if something like this happened to them. She did phenomenal in this scene. That the tears, the emotion, the pain that you see on her face. And then, I didn't know this at the time, but I've seen it through TikTok. Her son's dragon was also the son of Rhaenyra's dragon, Syrax. So both mothers lost a son to Aemon and his dragon, and it's poetic, but it's heartbreaking at the same time. Which then leads to Rhaenyra making her way back to Dragonstone and having the only lines of the entire episode. Emma D'Arcy has 4 lines in the entire episode of episode 1, and all she says is, I want Aemon Targaryen. Daemon was like, say less, babe, say less, I got you. Which leads us to the big climactic ending of this episode. Daemon makes his way to King's Landing, bribes a King's Guard. I think it's a King's Guard. Might not have been. But anyway, bribes a gatekeeper who is named Blood. And it's like, hey, you know someone that can get you in the castle? When they are, and Blood takes him to Cheese. They say, you know your way into the castle. And he's like, oh, I know it better than the back of... I'm not even going to say what he says, but you know. So he pays them. He goes, go in there, and I want you to kill Aemon Targaryen. To which Cheese says, yeah, which one is that? And he goes, one eye. He has one eye. And he does say this. He does say his one eye. Now, don't know if he says anything after this, which is what ends up being a discussion later in episode 2. But he does say at least he's got one eye. Kill him. So Blood and Cheese make their way through the castle, make their way to Aemon's room, don't find him there, and then they make their way to Helena's room with Aegon's 2 children, and she's terrified. They grab her. They're like, son for son, give up the boy. And the books, found out, the books there's 2 boys, but the show does not have both sons. They only have his 1 son, but in the books there's 2. So the book plays out slightly differently, with her having to choose between the 2 sons, and then she picks the youngest son, and they're like, yeah, whatever. So then they end up taking the firstborn anyway, and then she has to live with the fact that she chose to try to kill her youngest son, whereas in the show that's not how it plays out. In the show they threaten her, which one's the boy, and she gives him up. Now we know that Helaena Targaryen can see into the future like a lot of other Targaryens, and pretty much she knew this was going to happen, and I could not imagine living with that knowledge either. God, no. But anyway, they say, thank you, and grab the boy in his bed. Helaena grabs her daughter, takes off running, makes her way, and as she's leaving the room, you hear them stabbing and cutting into the young boy, and it's like, oh God, like you can hear the sounds, and it's messed up to hear the sounds. She ends up running to her mother's room, and she busts in, and why am I not surprised to see Alicent and Kristen Cole getting it on? It's like HBO can't resist having these 2 people on scene together without one of them or both of them doing something to each other. Oh my God. Anyway, she runs in there. She sits in the corner. Alicent sits up and she's like, what happened? And you just see Helaena just shocked. And that's how the first episode ends. We know what happened, and we know that they're going to find out what happens. So then it leads us into episode 2, and episode 2 starts off right out the gate with everyone in the castle ground being shoved basically into the courtyard. There's chaos going on. There's a shot of one of the young handmaidens carrying away the prince's robes covered in blood. It is a very chaotic scene because it's been found out that the young son of Aegon was not just murdered in his bed. Blood and Cheese took his head. That was the sound you were hearing, was them cutting his head off, and it's like, oh my God, jeez. And it's worse knowing that. Of course, if you read the books, you know that, but knowing that going into the second episode is that's rough. Anyway, Aegon's losing it. He's calling for war. He's calling for Rhaenyra's head. I mean, typical reaction from this guy. It was great acting too. Like, I felt for Aegon in this moment. I don't like Aegon as a king, and I don't like him as a person because he's pretty much just a big pansy. But this scene was, I felt it. I understood it. Yeah, fantastic job on the acting side. And when they get into the council room and everyone's talking, and you're seeing Otto, you're seeing Alicent, you're seeing the other members of the council just messed up here, and they're like, what do we do? Aegon's like, no, we're going for war. We're going after my sister. This is the only person that would have done this. It was my sister. It's 100% my sister, etc., etc. But the crazy thing is, you can tell that Otto and Alicent know for a fact that Rhaenyra would not have called for this. You can tell just by watching this thing. You can tell that Otto and Rhaenyra and Alicent were like, Rhaenyra would not have asked for this. But there's no getting through to Aegon. There's no getting him to see reason behind this. So Otto shifts it and says, let's turn this against her. Let's do a funeral procession for the young prince. And Aegon's not with it at first. He's not. He's like, no, we're not having my son paraded through the streets like this. And he goes, no. We should. And we should have your mother and Helaena go with them behind the carriage so that everyone can come to them and say their sorrow, say their grief, and etc., and to make this, and we're going to use this and turn it against Rhaenyra. We're going to have them come out and say it was Rhaenyra's fault. Rhaenyra called for this, and have people turn against Rhaenyra. And it works. You see in the court during the funeral proceedings. By the way, Helaena and Alicent don't want to do this, but they pretty much don't have a choice. But during that funeral parade, the people are just coming to them and just saying their grief and saying how sorry they are and how tore up it is and how Rhaenyra needs to pay for this. It does exactly what Otto wanted it to do. But in the end, it doesn't pay off because his own dumb, ignorant grandson does something that costs him everything that the funeral gave him. But we switch over after the funeral scene over to Rhaenyra, and she finds out that, hey, people are saying this about you. People, and she's like, I would not call for this. I would never call for this. How could anyone believe I would do this? Doesn't matter. They say you did it, and she's having a hard time coming to grips with this, that this would even happen in general, let alone people are saying that she would have called for it. And some of the accounts are like, maybe you misspoke in your time of grief, and when you were saying what little you did say, maybe you did say this. And she's like, I would not have said this. I know what I said. I said Aemond, not a innocent 4-year-old or 3-year-old, however young the kid is. And she's distraught. She's messed up. She doesn't know how to feel about this. And hey, girl, don't blame you. But when she looks over at Daemon and sees the smirky and snarkiness coming off of him, she's got this gut-wrenching feeling that Daemon knows. And sure enough, in the next scene when we see them fighting and arguing with each other, it comes out. It comes out. And this scene is done so well with Emma and Matt. Phenomenal job. And if you watch the behind the scenes for this moment, they even tell you that the director pretty much kind of let them feel the scene out and play it the way they would want to naturally feel, instead of having the director kind of direct them to do it. And I think that really helped, because you can just see them really treating the scenario as if this was a real moment for them. And in the fight, she's calling out Daemon. She's like, why would you do this? Why would you call for these people to kill Jaehaerys Jr.? Jaehaerys, I think his name is Jaehaerys, the little one, Jaehaerys and Jaehaerys. And he's like, I did not say that. I did not order them to do that. I said to go after Aemond. She's like, did you tell them, Daemon, did you tell them? He's like, I did not. And it was a mistake on my part not to be even more clear. Now, I don't know if in the books he says to do this, but in the show, he doesn't specifically say this. And so he's like, this was a mistake. I should not have played it out this way. I should not have let it play out this way. That was my fault. And then, they ask him, like, how did you find out the people to talk to? And he's like, the girl that we have picked up that I knew from back in King's Landing. And they get to bringing up her father, and he was like, my brother was scared of how I'd be. Like, your brother wasn't scared of you. My father wasn't scared of you, Daemon. My father couldn't trust you because of your own self-indulgent desires. You do things, and yes, you may think they're for the better of things, but you also don't act and think things through and how they'll play out. And she never basically asks him to leave. Rhaenyra asks Daemon to leave, and he does. And that's pretty much what the last of him we see for that episode. And Rhaenyra is now having to deal with the fact that the person she married, the father of some of her children, literally basically called for the head of a little baby. By the way, back in the funeral proceedings, they have a scene of the doll that would be baby Jaehaerys, and they have like the head sewn back on. Oh god, that was an awful sight to see. But Rhaenyra is now reeling with this, and she's really not in a good space between her son and then this Ellen situation. She's not in a good space right now, and we're going to see the aftermath of how well she handles herself moving forward with all of this stuff, and how she's going to climb her way back up and show off how she really is as a person to the people and rally the people the right way. And we have this also touching scene with her oldest arriving. I will put his name down, I completely forgot. Her oldest arrives back, tries to be very professional, tries to be very like, hey, I've got the command of this, I got the approval of the Starks, they're going to lend us this many men. And he just breaks down, and then Emma breaks down, and Rhaenyra breaks down, and they're holding each other. Fantastic scene. So many good scenes out of both of these two episodes. So many good scenes. But I think the second one really did fantastic with a lot of these emotional moments. Good on everyone in these two episodes. The emotions, the way they were playing out the emotions, the way they were handling the emotions, fantastic. A++ for this. These two episodes have been truly phenomenal so far. But hey, if you're someone watching this and you're like, oh man, I want more dragons. I want more fights. It's going to come. Even I don't, as someone that's not read the books, even I know the story's going to pick up. You need your slow burns. You need this stuff. These are emotional moments that really set the table for what's going to happen later on. And this stuff was necessary. It really was. Now, back to the moment earlier when I said Otto loses it with Aegon. Aegon decides that he's going to do something that just basically completely overturns everything his grandfather did for him with the funeral processions with his son. So during the big chaos, the Kingsguard did indeed catch Blood. Blood completely confessed, said he was hired by Daemon. He was working with this rat catcher named Cheese. He doesn't remember his face, but all this. Aegon, of course, was like, thank you. And, puts him out of his misery. Kind of saw that one coming. But because Blood said he didn't remember what he looked like, Aegon decides to take every rat catcher in the kingdom and not just put them all to death, hangs them, but hangs them in the streetways for everyone to see. There's mothers crying. This scene is, this scene, you see them all hanging, young boys, older men, and this sets Otto off. He says, before I get to the Otto part, they have the shot. This is all sad, by the way, with the mothers grieving, but it's even more sad when they take they have the shot with the dog from the first episode that belonged to the rat catcher. He sees his owner hanging up. By the way, Cheese dies from this too. They just didn't know that he was the one that did it because they just killed all of them. But the dog sees his owner hanging up from the rafters, not moving, and he's whining, he's crying, he's laying down, he's sad. God, Jesus, if it's not children being taken out, it's dogs in this moment, and this was emotional because that dog did not understand what was happening. All he knows is his owner's hanging up in the air, and he's super confused, and I feel bad for that dog. I really do. God. I hope they gave that dog proper therapy after what he had to witness. My God. Anyway, Otto storms into the chamber, attack, and chews out Aegon, chewing his ass up one side down the other. And he's like, how could you be so stupid? How could you be so ignorant? How could you be so dumb? Why did you do that? He goes, because Blood admitted that one of the people that helped him was a rat catcher. And he's like, so you killed all of them? Yeah, because he said he didn't want to look at that. And then you hung them in the streets like a moron. All the good faith I got you during the funeral, you just threw it away. You just threw it away because you had to be stupid and ignorant and do something stupid and petulant and childish. You ignorant, moronic child. I mean, Rafe is going in on this episode. And it was, oh man, it felt good to hear him say that. Oh man, I'm going to have to go back and just watch that scene again, just because. Of course, Sir Criston Cole, being the petulant little shit that he is like, watch what you say to the king, sir. And Otto remarks back, that is my grandson first. I will talk to him however I damn well please. And he deserves the ass chewing he's getting because he's a moron. Fantastic stuff. Okay, anyway. So, through this whole argument, Aegon says, I dismiss you from being hand of the king. You are my father's hand. You will not be my hand. Otto's like, you don't know what you're doing. You're making a grave mistake. And he goes, I need a hand that will take action. In fact, Sir Criston Cole will be my new hand because he's taken action. He is, and Otto's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, you didn't know? Cole sent the knight Eric, whichever one, I don't remember, the one that actually agreed with the Greens, sent him over to Dragonstone to pretend to be his twin brother to go kill Rhaenyra. And I was like, oh my God, these two people, we've put two idiots in high-ranking positions. Oh my God, what have we done? What in Christ's name has we done? Hey, he's like, you fool, you ignorant fool. And Criston Cole is like, it's time that the bitch queen is taken down. Criston Cole, you are such a petty, petulant little shit. My God, I hated Joffrey because he's a terrible character. I hate this guy because he is just a petty little bitch. Just a petty little bitch. Rhaenyra denied you because she didn't want to give up being a queen and give up riding dragons to go sell cinnamon and oranges on the beach. Get over yourself. Kristen Cole is so petty. This is literally the only reason why Kristen Cole sided with Green, sided with Alicent, because Rhaenyra said, no, I don't want to go live with you in the villages and sell oranges and cinnamon. Hell no. Petty ass. I cannot wait for this man's death. I hope it is super, super cathartic and slow and meticulous, and probably not going to be like whatever happens in the book. God, I hope they change it and make it so goddamn good. Stupid ass Kristen Cole. Yes, Aegon says, give him the hand of the king. And Otto leaves. He goes, you're an idiot. Gives him the emblem, leaves, and now Sir Kristen Cole has been anointed to hand of the king for Aegon. This is what happens when you put two... This is what happens when two morons share one brain cell and both of them are in a position to be in charge of people. This is what happens. Idiots and morons and just, god damn it. We later on get a scene with Otto and Alicent talking about what are they going to do, how they're going to handle the situation. Like, well, we can still get a control on Aegon. We can still get a control over him. Don't worry, he's malleable. And then they introduce the character of Daeron, or mention the character Daeron, and I didn't know who this was. But apparently Daeron is the youngest of Alicent and Viserys' children before he passed, but he's not mentioned in the first season at all. So this really does feel like a character thrown out of complete nowhere, because you're wondering where was he at, and they say where he's at. He was taken to Old Town to be with Otto's uncle or nephew or something like that, to be trained as a squire or whatnot. But there's no mention of him in the first season or even up until this moment. So it feels like a character kind of thrown out of nowhere, that was a negative for me, because it's like, this is a relatively important character to the story of what's happening, but also he's a child of one of the titular characters of the series and just completely not mentioned. It would be weird if it'd be weird if the same thing happened with Helena and Aegon having that third kid that's in the book, Maelor, I think is what it's called in the book. That would be like him actually being in the show, but never addressed until just a moment they need to address him. It's just a weird writing decision. I don't know why. I feel like if they'd at least just mentioned him in the first season and then just kind of left it off till now, would have been better, but it's not even mentioned in the first season. So it's just a very weird decision in the end with this. But yeah, they introduced the character of Daeron, and so he's going to be a Targaryen that will come into a play later on, apparently. So, see how that plays out. I know nothing about this character other than he's the son that was randomly mentioned in this episode. Back over to Dragonstone. The knight sent from King's Landing gets there, makes his way through the castle. People think he's his brother, and they're twins. No give it figure. But he gets to this point where he's about to walk through this main chamber room, and he sees his own brother coming, and he hides, and there's this moment where they're like moving around the wall, and it's shot really well. And you can see as the brother that sided with an arrow walks off, he has this feeling. He just has this feeling in his heart, and his guy's like, this is weird. There's something here. It's that twin thing, right? And then we have all these different shots of them sitting up on the wall, locking stuff, relieving people from the post, and whatnot. And then finally, as Rhaenyra is laying down to go to bed, the one from King's Landing comes into the door. She's like, sir? What's up? What's the matter? Is there a reason you're barging in? And he goes, I'm so sorry for this. I had no choice. Which shows that he didn't want to do this, and Kristen Cole was basically forcing his hand. Of course, it was Kristen Cole. And so, but you can tell that he's distraught about this. Then the twin that resided with Rhaenyra busts in. He's like, brother, no. They get into this huge fight, a fantastic fight. Didn't even need to be anything crazy choreography, but done really well. And they do real good at the shots, not specifically showing their faces in clear view. They do have shots like this, but I think it works out that they don't have super clear shots at all times. So it's harder to tell who's who because they're wearing basically the exact same thing. They look pretty much the same. I know the two actors don't look identical. There's a slight difference in them, but I think the way the shot was done, it looked really well because you don't straight up know who's who for the longest part. And then another knight comes in and he's like, which one is our twin, basically? And they don't even know. And in the end, the twin that sided with Rhaenyra manages to kill his brother and protect her. But he can't live with the fact that he killed his own brother. And he turns to Rhaenyra and he's like, I am so sorry for everything. Basically, it's like, I failed you. And then he kills himself. And Rhaenyra is just messed up in this moment. At this point, Rhaenyra is like, what the hell is going on? And that is basically the last we see of her of that episode. And I don't blame her. She's messed. She's confused. She's like, what is happening? And we're gonna, like I said a little bit earlier, we're gonna see how this plays out moving forward in the next couple episodes. And we end this episode off with, well, you guessed it, another scene of Alicent and Kristen Cole getting it on. Well, let me rephrase that. They're not getting it on. They have this moment. Kristen Cole comes in. She starts smacking on him, and then of course the heat of the moment, the sexual tension rises up. They start making out. They start doing things to each other, and that's how it ends. And I'm like, this really, this is what we're doing. This is how we're ending off the show. I think the writers are hard pressed to just have these two on screen together and just going at it, because there's no reason to be showing the ending of episode 1 with them doing it, though it did play a pretty important factor. But really, in episode 1 and episode 2 with them doing stuff to each other, having all that sexual tension, my God. I loved season 1. I'm loving season 2. I cannot wait for episode 3. Hopefully I don't have to make a super long video over a single episode. I just had to do this one because I didn't say anything about the first one. I wanted to tie that in. And I'm Team Black the whole way. Even though Daemon is a crazy bastard, I'm still Team Black the whole way. And while I'm pretty sure I've been rightfully spoiled because of TikToks and whatnot, I'm still looking forward to seeing how they manage to make it all play out in the end. If you're Team Green, why? At least Rhaenyra is trying to be genuine about this. The Greens are just power-hungry, petty-ass people. And on top of it, they have Kristen Cole on their side. Nothing could be worse than that. Kristen Cole is a petulant, shitty little man baby, and I hope he gets his comeuppance by the end of this season, because you know what? God, I'm tired of him already. Fuck Kristen Cole. God.